Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you are watching this. Welcome back to the 81st episode of the Since I Was Young podcast, all dedicated to Heart of Midlothian. We do hope you are all good and well. Thank you for joining us as always. You're with myself, Ewan Ramsey, and my co host, Alan Scrimger. Alan, how are you doing, my friend? You well?
Hi, I'm very well, mate. Very well. How are you?
Very well, mate. Very well. Are you kind of recovered after another frustrating weekend?
Well, yeah. Um,
Still no.
I've kind of got a coping mechanism, and we'll talk about it after. But expect nothing from referees, and you'll be not left disappointed.
Absolutely not,
That's
and
my
you
kind
won't.
of mantra at the moment.
Well, saying that you will not be left disappointed after we dive into the depths of VAR and shithousery refereeing. We will be going through the draw against with a Mirren at the weekend. 2-2 last gasp was a penalty converted none other by our captain Lawrence. I can only score penalty Shankland. We will also look at a few news topics as well that's happened throughout the week before as well since we did the last episode. Some departures, some possible extensions on their contracts as well. As we mentioned, some shithousery VAR decisions as well. And lastly, we will look ahead to shockingly the biggest game of the season, which will be at home to Aberdeen, who are currently sitting 5 points behind in the league with 9 available, if I'm right in saying with that. So yeah, that's going to be your Hearts podcast for this evening. So before we get started, as always, guys, if you aren't subscribed to the Since I Was Young podcast, please think about subscribing. And if you want to get in contact with us via our socials as well, please feel free to do so. We're mainly on Twitter, so feel free to check us out on that. So, Alan, again, as I said, another frustrating weekend and another opportunity missed to close that gap on third place. So just the darting off with the team news as always. There wasn't a lot of changes to the game from last week. I believe, please was it correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the only change was Andy Halliday that was in from for Cochrane due to suspension from the Celtic game. Relatively happy with this starting lineup.
Yeah, it was. I think I said it last week as well. I think Naismith has found the players he wants to use, and that can fit what he wants to do. So yeah, I wasn't expecting many changes from the Celtic game. Obviously, the Cochrane was obviously enforced. I thought we might see Kingsley, but apparently there was a bug going around, so he was unwell. But I've also heard other stories that he had a personal issue to deal with, so I'm not entirely sure why he wasn't involved. But Halliday is the kind of other option for that left back position. So I wasn't overly disappointed to see that because obviously Kingsley's not been in great form recently either. But yeah, it was when I looked at it on paper, I thought it's a good side to go on with.
And I would like to kind of with a question you like on that, man. 2 goals down after 45 minutes. I'll be very honest, just from was watching that actual game and the highlights as well. Again, conceding a goal from yet another set piece. Again, like the players didn't. I like it was almost as if they had a 5 second was it delay after they had actually scored like more to just sort of not being actually on it. Obviously was it touch about the first goal as such, but I want to take a kind of a different route. I actually want to talk about the second goal first. What the actual what the actual was going on, because you know when the ball was actually, well, sorry, just to go even further back, to be honest, I don't think that it should have been a free kick in the first place because, with Hill going up for the ball, this American player gets hit in the head through a clash of heads, as I saw it.
Yeah.
He goes down. Hill's absolutely fine. Hill wins the ball. Granted, if the referee had to stop it for some sort of head injury, yeah, absolutely fine. But the fact that he gave the free kick in the first place again baffles me, but again doesn't actually surprise me with the referees that we've actually got.
No, no, I totally agree. It was like we'd been saying it for a while that you want a defender that's aggressive, that goes in and wins the ball in
Mm,
the air, like Halkett used to do, and
yeah.
we don't really have that. And Hill did that in that moment. He just
Mm,
jumps and wins the ball. So I don't
aye.
like the St Mirren player falls down, fair enough, but it's a fair 50-50 ball that they're going for,
Aye.
and I don't, as I say, the refereeing on the day was questionable. That's a nicest way of putting
That's
it
a
I can
nice
think
sign.
of. But yeah, I didn't understand why it was a free kick. I will say though, like as I say, we're talking about the goals in reverse, but the second goal for me, there were lots of things that I wasn't fond of about it. I
Yeah.
think firstly, and I'm sure everybody's seen it by now, and everybody probably thinks the same thing, but if the wall jumps, then it gets blocked and it's away. Um, Xander Clark's positioning was a wee bit odd as well. I didn't quite get
Yeah.
what he was trying to do there, but yeah, it wasn't even a great free kick. That's the annoying
No,
thing. Like
if
if it
shite.
was top corner or if it was a top corner or a curler, I could sit there and go, "Aye, fair enough." But yeah, it wasn't even a great free kick. But it is what it is, and it's just the typical Heart of Midlothian away from home curse that we seem to have at the moment.
Well, I mean, just I kind of speaking about that as well because, after the game itself, I mean, when Naismith was appointed as the and like so sorry, like was it as the was it a caretaker boss for the remainder of the season. I don't know if it's just after hearing for nearly 3 seasons Robbie's continual same post match was it interviews, or if it's just nice
Yeah,
to have a fresh face and different sort of views on that actual game. But I liked what Naismith said. Like, it wasn't a case of he's attacking the squad itself, but like one of the things that kind of stuck out from what he actually said, not like sort of word for word, but you know, I think the phrase he used was the players just they can't decide when they want to actually show up, which I actually was a quite like, because arguably we were better in the second half, but still quite far off it. Um,
yeah.
do you think that again, in terms of the performances themselves, and again with was in this in the dugout, do you still feel that would have been a completely different story if the robbery was still actually there?
Think so. I think like you, I'm kind of warming, and I think I said it last week, or maybe I've said it on Twitter. I don't quite remember, but I like that the things that Naismith's coming out with. I like what he's saying. I like how he's coming across.
Hmm.
Personally, I think he will be the manager next season. I think we're kind of being primed for that. I think.
Wow. Okay.
Um, to be honest, I just there's lots of different little signs that it just seems as if it's kind of going to happen. Regardless of league finish.
Mate,
And
Frank Lampard will be available next season, sir. Come on now.
class.
Frankie boy in.
Stephen, I saw Stephen Gerrard in the Gorgie Fish Bar last week, so I might well be
Oh,
that might be
oh,
an
oh.
official. But I've got a feeling that it's going to be Nazy, and I'm sure there'll be some people that'll be pleased with that, and some people that'll think we should be a bit more ambitious. And I understand both points of view, but we can obviously cross that bridge if it
Hmm.
happens in the not too distant future or not. But yeah, I like Naismith and I like the way he's coming across, but I don't know if it's he's coming across that way just now because he's kind of got nothing to lose right now. Naismith
Yeah,
in that sort of interim job, it's like he might
yeah,
have vibes that he's getting it next year, or he might not. You know what I mean? So he's kind of like it's kind of almost like a free pass for him at the moment in terms
yeah.
of like the way he can be, because he's just doing the job kind of in the short term.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, no, I did. I really liked what he said. I'd like it more if we were able to turn up for 90 minutes rather than just 45. But
True.
yeah, he does seem to be coming across very well. And it is, like you say, it is refreshing because I'm sure Robbie Nielsen would have blamed the angle of the sun or the length of the grass or the referee's haircut or something. I don't know. But yeah, Naismith seems to talk a fair bit of sense at the moment, which is nice.
I do agree, sir. I do agree. Well, uh, just to kind of touch on as well, like was it as you said, was it turning up when they want to a news story that broke just a few days ago, and arguably he has turned up a bit for this was it season as well. Our was it Pacey wearing or Josh Janelli? I'd say I'd say arguably this has probably been his more kind of better seasons. I would say like like it was obviously he was out for most of the championship was a season last year was kind of a bit hot and cold, but I think this year you could argue he's been a bit more consistent. And he scored with quite a few goals as well. Now it was said from was it Barry Anderson of the Evening News that obviously like was it Janelli was it coming to the end of his was a contract that he wants, not hopes, he wants a 3 year deal. Now I don't know where you sit on this, Alan, because obviously we put up a post not too long ago, um, just a simple yes or no, if was it if you would give him like his 3 year deal. Now, I don't know why, Alan, but like just the number three, I don't know what it was. It kind of not completely put me off it, but see if it was like a 2 year deal, I would say yeah, absolutely. Like
Mhm.
I don't think you'd preferably no, sorry you'd would it preferably have anything to lose as such. Where like he's 26 right now. Arguably, you could say he's coming into the prime like was it of his was it a career was it age wise as well, you know but what it kind of reminded me of was when we obviously saying was a Barry Mackay played out of his socks, went straight into the squad, was absolutely magical. As soon as he signed that 3 year deal, just started to like slowly curve down, and then now it's days where he does play, days where he just I would it the can would it pick up a pass as well. So where do you stand was it on it, mate? If he were to say to you, was it Josh, was it Janelli? I want a 3 year deal. Like I want to secure my own like with a future, which is quite was it rightly so.
Yeah.
I've been playing well. Was it all season? Would you actually give him? Was it easy a 3 year deal?
That he's missing his family. Like he wants his family to come up here. He only sees them, I think, 3 times a year, and they obviously live down south.
Mm.
So there's an element of that, and he's not seen them for a long time. So he obviously wants to bring them up here, which is nice because he's obviously settled, and Edinburgh's a
Mm.
lovely place and all the rest of it. Um, I think, like you, the 3 year deal thing for me is it's not so much an issue. It's more just a concern of, is he going to turn up for those 3 years?
Exactly.
I like Gino, and I've never
Yeah.
once said I don't like Gino. I think I've said many times he's one of the most frustrating players to watch, because we know what he's capable of and we know what he can do, and you just want to see it more often.
Mm.
But this season certainly has been one of his better ones. I think he's the second top goal scorer at the club behind Shankland. I think I saw a stat earlier. He's got 11 goals in the league, which
Mm.
it's kind of gone a bit under the radar, I think, to be
Yeah.
honest, the number
No.
of goals that he's got. Or certainly for me, I didn't realise he'd scored as many as that. Um, but yeah, I can understand why he wants the deal he wants and why he's coming out and saying, I want to stay. This is
Mm.
what I want. He's laying it out there. I would give him the deal, but I think there's lots of different things. I think obviously, if I'm Stephen Naismith, I'm probably saying, well, if I'm going to be here next year, I want Gino to
Aye.
stay. Um, but if I'm Stephen Naismith and I'm not getting the job next year, it's not Stephen Naismith's decision to make. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
True.
Like, I know Naismith said he's already spoken to him and kind of told him, what he thinks. And I think it's a case of Naismith's kind of told him, you'll regret leaving if you do end up going. Because I don't think Gino, with all due respect to clubs in England, which is probably where he would go, I don't think Gino will play at a bigger club than Hearts, to be quite honest. As
I
much as I
mean,
love him, I
I no, no.
don't see him going to a bigger club, if you know what I mean.
I mean, could you argue again? Like, I know that this is was a like another kettle of fish, but could you argue that he could play for like a mid, like was it table, was it championship club or?
Potentially, maybe top end League One, lower end Championship, maybe. But
Hmm.
I think in terms of in terms of stature and in terms of European football, which
Aye,
we
aye,
will
no,
have
no.
next season, and in some capacity,
Hmm.
um, I don't
Do you think so?
think he gets. Yeah, potentially. But like you mentioned about the poll, and I put it up earlier, and it's been a pretty resounding response. I'll just rattle through some of the
Yeah, of
replies because I think they're
course.
quite interesting. Poll itself was, would you give Gino a 3 year deal if you took all the context out of it, i.e., the family thing and all the rest of it?
Hmm.
It was 17% no, 83% yes.
There you
Now,
go.
I think a large part of that is to do with current form, to be fair, because he's banging it right now, which
Aye,
is brilliant.
exactly.
Couple of replies that I just highlight because I think they're quite interesting as well. First one was from Harry Temple, and he says needs to be a two with an option. I think of a third year. Third year brings complacency. If he knows he needs to perform to get the extra year, it would work out better for both parties. So that
I
that is a
I
sensible
actually
idea.
think, yeah, no, no, for sure. I think.
There's also one from Jamie on Twitter that says, "Why not? Who else of that level could we realistically get into replacing him? Let him go on a free would be a sin." Another one that I've just completely lost, which I thought was quite good as well. Yeah, so this was from Preston Pans Hearts actually, at Pans Hearts on Twitter, and he said, having been guilty of questioning his earlier application, I'm beginning to wonder if it's not the fact he's got a better player, Shankland, beside him. He was great early doors with, funnily enough, Naismith as his foil earlier on in his time at Hearts. So I think that's it. I think Gino this season in particular has kicked on because yeah, he's been given a new position and obviously playing a bit further forward and a bit more central, but it's working. And I think the number of players that we're going to let go, plus the number of players we're going to have to bring in, I think if we can tie Gino down to a realistic contract that works for him and works for the club, then it's a no-brainer for me.
Yeah, I mean that's fair enough. I mean, to be honest, I actually quite like the option of having him on and was it on a was a 2 year deal and then having the
That
option
extra year,
of a third as
yeah,
well, because then it like it actually kind of motivates him more to actually keep that consistency up and to actually keep him going as well. Like, because
Yeah,
again, like I mean, like we said, like it's not particularly to was it a single him out, but you know the Barry Mackay thing, like as a prime example, like I've not seen that player like be like was it after like he got was it given that deal. So I think a 2 year with an option of a third would be a more was it a sensible option. And
yeah,
as you said as well, to put in his 11th goal as well, as we saw when we scored our was a first goal as well. But the player I would like to kind of was it a single out on that, was our out of favour the right back was a Natty Atkinson. I actually thought it was a quite a good neat assist there. Again, do you think there's possibly a like was it like a bit of hope there for our wee was it Natty Atkinson? Because I believe it was maybe last month or something that we all thought like by the end like of the season he'll be away, but I wouldn't go as far to say that he's had a resurgence in form because he was not ever like a Stonewall starter to begin with, but he's starting to show up like a bit more sort of like was it as was it Brendan Robert was it Roger would say was it a character, and he's starting to show a bit more like a bit more like about himself. And would you agree on that?
I would. Yeah, I would. I think halftime came, and obviously Naismith brought him on at halftime, and he did very well in the second half.
Mm.
I'm clinging on to this hope that the Naismith kind of forward thinking play might suit Atkinson, because as we
Yeah.
know, defensively he can be a little bit suspect. Going forward, he's certainly
Mm.
better, and he showed that against St Mirren. Yeah, listen, there's no secret that I'm a fan of Natty Atkinson. I have been for a long time. Well,
Mm.
say a long time since he's been with us. And obviously there's whispers that Michael Smith is going to be leaving at the end of the season. So there's an element of, if Natty Atkinson is fit and available, should give him a run. Play him in the next 3 games and see what he can do. Because he's certainly, when he's been given chances, he's done things. So yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see what happens with Natty. He's still under contract, so if he goes in the summer, we'd have to get some sort of fee, which might
Mm.
obviously swing it in a different way. But yeah, I think we kind of swayed away from the game a little bit when we're talking about Gino and all the rest of it. But I would love to see Natty get a run now. I've said it for weeks. I want to see more of Natty, but hopefully now we do get to see it.
Mm.
Despite Hill putting in a good performance defensively against Celtic at right back, Natty Atkinson is your more forward kind of thinking attacking fullback, which I'd like to think Naismith would rather have, certainly in home games like the game against Aberdeen, for example.
Well, try that though. Before we do dive back in to the game, which we swiftly went off it was a track of it. I think we do have to talk about was it like another bit of news that did break out last week as well. You were just mentioning there like about for next was it a season as well, like with the possibility was it trying to tie players down, the possibility was it of different players, was it going in and out as well. Sadly, a player that will not was a feature in the last three matches, which I won't lie broke my heart. Is our fan was a favourite striker, Stephen Humphreys, who has returned to his main was it his was it parent club Wigan Athletic. But I mean, Alan, I mean, in retrospect, can you blame him for not being was it a given was a goal of the season being beat by a fucking chip? Like, can you actually blame him?
Oh, not at all, not at all. I think that's the main reason he left, to be honest.
Saying that though,
Um,
how did that win goal of the fucking season? I know we're going on a completely different rant here, but what the fuck? What the fuck?
mate, I have no idea. I have no idea. I think it was one of those, like that Humphreys goal. Unfortunately, I wasn't there to see it live, but it's one of those goals when you see a goal for the halfway line.
Oh,
Like it's
it's
one of those I was there moments,
aye.
and like the goal that won it wasn't even Jota's best goal this season. That's
It
what
was
baffles
pish.
me.
It was pish. I'm
It
sorry. It
yeah, I
was a
just
chip.
well, it's funny, like when you look at like the posts online about it and stuff, there's so many neutral fans that basically replied going, did you forget about Stevie Humphrey's goal? Like, did somebody forget to put that in the vote?
Well,
Like,
somebody said
it's
was it I read one of the comments and I fucking laughed. Was it I do think it was a Celtic fan was it was saying like oh like absolutely well deserved the Hearts boys goal was a fluke. I'm like all right okay I sound that's that's
fuck.
rare
You know what
that
I mean?
rare.
Like, oh, it just yeah. But aye, back to the actual story. Stevie Humphreys going away. Reasons obviously. Stephen Naismith said he's not planning on using him, which is a bit of a strange one.
Yeah.
To be fair, but it must there must be some positive signs from Liam Boyce potentially being back then, if that's the case, because Stevie
Possibly.
Humphreys was our striker off the bench. So to move your kind of backup striker to allow him to go is a bit odd. But
Mm,
obviously he's got a lot of issues, or Wigan have got a lot of issues at the moment, haven't been paying players and stuff like that. So he's probably wanting to go back down and sort that out and see where his future lies. Again, he's one that I would have back next season if there was a deal to do.
mm,
But if not, he's scored some brilliant goals, some memorable ones. Obviously, he got a
mm.
goal in Florence against Fiorentina, scored against Hibs, and obviously that halfway line goal. So he scored some bloody brilliant goals for his highlight reel for whichever his next club is. I'm sure that'll get him a fair bit of interest, just those goals on their own.
Absolutely, absolutely. But you know, if the worst does happen and he was it doesn't return, was it Stevie Humphreys? Thank you very much. So you are a fucking legend, Moan the Grunty. But yeah, was it going back? Was it to the game, Alan? Obviously we got to talk about the main sort of was it highlight? Well, sorry, highlight of the actual game. Obviously, I'm preferring. Was it to the tackle that which got Haring sent off as well. Again, it's yeah, like again, what what can you say? You know, I'm like I'm a bit lost for words in the sense of how to kind of describe it as well. Obviously that's two players in was it 3 weeks that we've had was sent off as well. You know the Cochrane one was quite debatable, and I'm sure most was the people have read that Hearts are not going to contest it, but that's obviously for quite was it obvious reasons to like obviously not risk him being was it out for 3 games, which I can understand that.
Yeah,
But as I believe as well, Hearts will was it like appeal this was it the decision as well, and quite rightly so. I feel at the most it was a yellow. You know, I don't think Hanning's tackle was necessarily in endangering like the actual player itself. Yeah, granted, like it
Yeah.
was late, and if you were to give him like a card, then yeah, like cool. But uh, I have to say that I think it was very, very, very harsh. No,
Oh, definitely. It's an odd one because like I've seen different angles of it, and there's hardly any contact
no,
on the St Mirren boy. It's not a dangerous tackle. It's not like you say. It's not risky. It's the best way I can describe it is like you could probably go back months in this podcast, and I'm sure you said about Peter Haring making tackles quite a lot and
mm.
sliding and winning the ball. It's a typical Peter Haring tackle that
Aye,
he makes every week, and he gets away with it every week. And he might get a yellow here or there, but the St Mirren boy was going. Haring's just thought, I'm going to slide in, and if I get a yellow, I get a yellow. It stops the
mm.
attack. That's what Peter Haring's good at, you
Yeah,
know. And it was just, as I say, that the referee and VAR both to think it was a red card is totally baffling, as far as I'm concerned.
mm.
They lodged their appeal today, as being Tuesday when we record this, and it's the hearing is tomorrow.
Mm.
When this should be going live, I'm not entirely
Yeah,
sure,
aye. So
depending on depending on how that goes. But yeah, I will be baffled if it doesn't get overturned because it's not a red card. It's just
no,
not a red card. And it's an independent panel that's reviewing it. So hopefully the independent panel, whoever that may be, sees a bit of sense and realizes it's not a red card because I think something that's kind of going under the radar as well is Peter Haring's not signed a new contract for next season yet either. So if he gets a ban, we might not see him again.
that's it. Nice done.
So it's yeah, like I feel like they will rescind it. I feel like they have to,
Yeah.
but at the same time, we know what these things are like. um, it wouldn't surprise me if they slapped an extra 5 games on just for banter.
Oh yeah, man. Of course, yeah.
But yeah, like I said, the biggest annoyance was that the referee and VAR both said it was a red card. We were talking about clear and obvious errors last week. I think it's a clear and obvious error that VAR has made in backing him up and saying, yeah, it's a red. Like, it's not a red card. It's not a red card. And I'd be saying that if it was any player that had made that tackle, not just my glorious Austrian. Um, yeah, it's just ridiculous. And I don't say, I hope it gets overturned, and it should. If common sense prevails, it should be overturned. So
Absolutely.
I'm
And
getting wound up about it just talking about it now, and it was days ago at this point.
well, we will leave a bookmark on there because we seem to be talking about VAR every single week. So we just stop it there, Alan. But
Let's
I,
please.
exactly. So again, uh, was it coming back? Was it to the last like? Was it gasp of? Was it the actual game? Atkinson. Sorry, Atkinson. Was it Gino? Was it managing to get us like a penalty? It was a bit of a weird one. Like like especially from it was a mirror defender because if I mind rightly, Gino was facing away from the actual goal, so I don't know where the mindset was or the like was it or the fault right where was it 2-1 up here, the game's about to end. Okay, what? Let's push him down in the fucking box. But mate, I will take it all day long. And of
100%.
course, as well, our main man was Shanklin got his 26th goal of the season. I want to say 26th or
I think
27th.
so. I think it was 26. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
so. Could be
but
wrong,
even
but I'm pretty sure it's 26.
aye, but even even so, you know, like on your first was it season, and especially your first season back was it in the Scottish was a Premiership to score 26 goals. You know, it's so refreshing to see that we've actually got a goal scorer in the actual squad. But with just 3 games left, Alan, do you think he'll hit 30? I'm going to keep asking you every week because I said during
Are we still
Christmas
on
time,
this? Are we?
I'm still going for Christmas time, mate. Mate, put your balls on the fucking line. Let's hear you. Is he going to hit 30 or not?
No, 27.
Oh, 27. Fuck. Aye. But no,
No,
just going back to sorry, Alan. Was it just that? Was it going back?
no,
Was
on
it
you go.
to the penalty? Do you like agree that that was like a decision that was a VAR got right?
Yes.
There you
Yeah, I
go.
think it was a
Perfect.
soft one. I think it was a soft one, but he did
Aye.
push him over. Like you said, there was no reason for him to push him over, so he does. And Gino maybe makes the most of it, but you would
Oh,
like
hundred
like you
percent.
said, last minute, of course you would. And like we've said many times, there's nobody I would trust more to take a penalty at this point than Shankland. I don't know if you would have seen it, but he put on his Instagram the match pictures of him taking the penalty,
Yeah.
and the wee bit at the bottom said something like another one that doesn't count or something like that. And I was
Yeah,
like,
I got that one.
that is the type of shithousery from my captain I can get behind.
Oh, my captain,
But
my
I like
captain.
we didn't really deserve a point in all honesty.
Did we
But
fuck? Did we
you
bollocks?
take
No.
it, you take it, and you go. The disappointing thing about it was obviously at the same time Aberdeen drew 0-0 with Hibs. So like you said at the start, we gained a point, but it could and maybe I mean I'm saying it should have been three. It shouldn't have been. We didn't deserve it, but if we'd managed to get 3 points, we would be sitting here saying that the Aberdeen game is vital and that we could overtake them. But we'll cross that bridge very shortly, I would imagine.
Of course.
But yeah, overall, typical, like I said, typical Hearts away performance. Naismith, if he does get the job permanently, needs to do something about that because our away form is horrendous and it has been for a long time. Yeah, it is. It's annoyingly predictable that we weren't going to win that game.
Oh, you and me both, Alan. You and me both. But I think we could probably leave the frustration at the door there. As we said at the start,
Yeah,
it was a frustrating afternoon, and it led to a 2-2 draw against St. Was it against St. It was a Mirren, with, as we also said at the start, still 5 points adrift of our next opponent, Aberdeen, who travel to Tynecastle on Saturday. So, Alan, how are you feeling about it? Are you feeling frustrated at all? Possibly.
well, I'm feeling kind of confident in a way,
Fucking
which is
hell, jeez.
weird for
Aye,
me.
I don't
I won't say too much because for those that go to the game, we've actually done the feature for the program. I was asked to write something for it, so I've written a brief preview of what I think how the game might go, and just kind of insights into both teams this season. So it was fun to do, and we slapped our predictions in there as well. But yeah, I it'll be a very interesting game. I think Aberdeen know that if they win or any kind of result really for
it's
them,
done. Yeah, it's done.
yeah, it's pretty much over, and there's no two ways about it. So they might well come with that view, and they might well come out and have a go at us. I've been impressed with what I've seen of Hearts at home since Stephen Naismith's taken charge, and the whole kind of front foot having a go, playing it in the opposition half, which I hope we do against Aberdeen.
Mm.
I feel like we've got enough about us to get a result. Again, I'm clinging on to the hope that Barry Robson is yet to win a game as permanent Aberdeen manager. Granted, it's been against Rangers and Hibs. He's 2 games in charge, so you can kind of allow them that. But yeah, interestingly, I saw an interesting one that in the last 5 meetings between Aberdeen and Hearts, the home teams have won and they've kept a clean sheet.
Oh, right, okay,
Obviously,
okay.
the last time Aberdeen came to Tynecastle, we won 5-0. Last time we went to Pittodrie, they won 3-0. So yeah, I'd love to sit here and say I think it'll be a difficult game. I'm not going to deny
Oh,
that. I think it'll be a tough
100%.
one.
Yeah.
But I think the fact that we know that we really have to win to have any outside slim chance of hanging into that third place. But I've kind of made peace with the fact that I reckon we'll finish fourth this season. I've kind of acknowledged that in my head, so I'm not really too fussed about the league table at this point. I just want us to finish as well as we can.
But even though, Alan, like, I can 100% guarantee you that if we do win on the Saturday, the next was a podcast we do, third place is back on. I can guarantee you,
Oh,
mate.
100%.
Guarantee. Oh yeah,
100%,
no
mate.
man,
I'll
no,
be
man, of
looking.
course.
I'll be looking the passport out, mate. In fact, I'm going to go and do it now.
Well, no, man, exactly. I mean, because you've also got to take into account that that Hibs play Rangers as well on the Sunday. So again, it's a good chance in that same weekend as well to gain 4 points like ahead of them as well, because I think, and I quote what you said, was it to myself, that Hearts can finish anywhere in the league as long as as it's above Hibs. So I think for the whole like it was a weekend, I think it's another opportunity to actually gain some traction on Aberdeen to put a bit of pressure on them, but at the same time, so it would also was it give us a bit of a leeway if the Rangers were to actually do us a favour. But as you said, Alan, I kind of agree. Like, I am feeling a tiny bit more confident, but it's probably just based on the fact that it's at home as well. So, and the fact that both teams drew at the weekend and had an opportunity to just wrap it off, or for us to actually be a bit more was it closer as well. I think there'll be a bit of frustration from it was on both sides as well. So yeah, was an interesting game. Normally at this point, I would ask you for your prediction, but guys, if you would like to find out our was it predictions, I would encourage you to buy the match day was a program on Saturday, as was Alan said. Love there. You're welcome, sir. You're welcome. On that, like, was it as Alan just said there? He's wrote a wee piece for the game and what to like expect from was it both sides as well. So if you want to check that out, please feel free to do so. And yeah, I think that brings us to the end of this episode of the Since I Was Young was a podcast. So thank you to all, as always, for checking in as well. And as always, if you aren't subscribed to the YouTube channel, please think about subscribing. And if you want to catch us on our socials as well, please feel free to do so. They will be on screen and in the description. And as always as well, if anybody's going to the game on Saturday, please have yourself a good one, and we will see you in the next one. Y'all take care. Bye for now.